What makes us sin? It's not what you think. Hello, my name is Anton, and today I will share my thoughts about what's the true cause for why we sin. Or some people just choosing to do evil because they want to hurt others and themselves. To a degree, yes, they are making this choice. However, it's not they that are making this choice. They don't have a true, real choice when they choose to sin. And I believe this is one of the most misunderstood concepts in Christianity. And I believe that if we can truly understand the true reason for why we sin, why we choose to do evil things in this world, what even evil is, then I believe we can move beyond sinful behavior and we can be more virtuous and not get caught up in that. So the common belief is that when we sin, we use our free will that God gave us to serve ourselves and to serve Satan. So we don't align it with God. We choose to serve ourselves. And this is true. It makes sense. But if we look closer, what does this truly mean? I mean, if we are using our own free will to serve ourselves instead of God, it means that this self that we're serving can't be us. It can't be our true nature. Because our true nature, when we're with God in heaven, is to be connected with God. God is within us. So if we're serving this self and it creates suffering, it creates sin, it can't be our true self, because our true self is to be connected with God, not separate from Him. So that means that this thing that we're serving here is not your true self. It's what we can call the ego or the flesh. The wording is not that important. And what we have to realize is that this is not a separate agent. It's not like a different character. It's still you. It is simply a lack of your true character. And the easiest way to explain it is as your ego. And we can say that when you lack your true character, your true nature, this ego starts to take over and it starts to lead your life and makes you do all of these bad things. And it's not you that's making that choice. It's a lack of your true choice. And that's what causes you to sin. So this ego takes over because you are not focused on God. You're not letting God lead your life. And we have to let go of this false identity that is not your true self, because your true self wouldn't choose to sin. That doesn't make sense. I mean, our true nature is to be with God. And we are supposed, we were created in the image of God. We're supposed to reflect the image that He made for us. And yeah, we may have distorted this image, but that doesn't mean that it's destroyed. We still have God's image inside of us and we're meant to reflect it. And when we do, we don't sin. If we perfectly reflected the image of God, then we wouldn't sin. And I can prove it to you with Jesus. Jesus is the Son of God. He is the only perfect human being who perfectly reflected the image of God for us to see what we should strive toward and how we should live. And He didn't sin, not even once. So this directly proves that when you are fully connected with God, because Jesus is God, that's why He was able to not sin, because He was God, He was with God, His Father. He didn't sin because He reflected the image of God with His true nature. And we have the Holy Spirit inside of us. We're supposed to also reflect that. But we make mistakes. We're not perfect. We don't do that perfectly. But this just shows that when you are fully aligned with God and you're focused on God and you're fully conscious and able to just be with God in the present moment instead of letting your ego feed upon and take your life, because that's what the ego does. The ego takes over our lives. It likes to stay alive and it's going to feed upon your life. And the way the ego does this is through a bunch of different tactics. But the main way that the ego stays alive is by creating separation from God. It wants to be separate because that's the only way it can exist. When you are with God, it disappears. So the first tactic that the ego will use to make it so that it stays as a separate being and can lead your life instead of letting God lead your life is that it makes it so that you want to feel like a separate being. It gives you this identity that makes you feel proud of yourself, and that, yeah, I've done these things in the past, and this shaped me into this character. You tell these stories about the person that you are, and this feeds the ego, because God is truly found in the present moment. So this past, this ego, is separate from God. So when we keep feeding it with all of these stories, we're losing the present moment, and we're losing our side from God. We're blocking ourselves away from God, and we're feeding this false self that might feel good because it knows that we like comfort, we like to repeat the same patterns and do the things that we have always done in our lives. But this is not our true self. I mean, can you really know who you are? If I ask you, are you your thoughts? Are you your past, the things you've done? Are you your goals? No, we don't know. And that's why we cannot make the conclusion so easily that, yeah, this is who I am. I'm this person who drinks from this water bottle. Whatever. That's not us. We have to let go of that false identity, because that's going to feed the ego and make it stay alive, so that it's going to continue leading our lives, which is completely the opposite from what we want. So there is no source to evil, because evil and sin, when our ego takes over, only happens when we look away from God. It's not like there's a source for the evil. Let me give you an analogy here. Darkness cannot exist in the presence of light. Darkness only comes to be when light is absent. So as soon as we turn on the lights again, darkness ceases to exist like it never did. It was just the absence of the light. There's no source. You can't turn on a lamp and just point darkness somewhere. That's not how it works. Darkness appears because of the lack of light. In the same way, evil appears because of the lack of our consciousness, of our presence, because we are not with God. It's because we take our attention away from God and we point it at this desire or this distraction or temptation, whatever it is that looks more tempting than God. Maybe it's our past, it's our future, something that's just bothering us, whatever it is. It takes us away from God, and it's gonna make us sin. And let me explain now why it is that we do not have a choice when sinning. So let me give you another analogy. I'm in my room. We turn off the lights. It's completely dark. So now I cannot see because I've blocked myself away from the light. I turn it off. I'm walking around. I might step on someone, I might stumble, I might hurt someone in this dark. Did I choose to step on this person? I mean, not really, because all I did was take a step. But if I cannot see, it's not my true self, my will. I didn't choose to step on this person. It just happened because I did not see clearly. In the same way, sinful behavior only happens because we look away from God, which is basically like closing your eyes away from the truth, away from everything good. And when you cannot see, can we truly say that we have a choice when sinning? I don't think so. I don't think that when you cannot see, it's not you that making the choice. But we do have a choice over one thing, and this is the most important choice, and it's the only choice we really have. It's where we choose to keep our attention. It's if we choose to keep it away from God, or if we want to stay looking at God. That's basically the choice we have, and everything else is just going to be the effect, the consequence of where we keep our attention. So if we keep our attention on God, we're not going to sin. If it's fully on God, we're not going to sin. But we might get distracted, we might look away. So we have to remember to keep our attention there. And how can we do that? Well, we set the intention, because you cannot force yourself to look at God. But you can keep in mind, in the back of your mind, set an intention that today, when I start my day, I want to focus on God today. I want to keep my attention on Him. I don't want to look away. I want to be with God. And you remind yourself of that every single day, and eventually it just becomes second nature. And we reinforce this good thing, because someone might say that, yeah, but I need to think about this sin I did, because I cannot, I need to beat myself up for it because it's wrong. I need to punish myself or whatever. But this doesn't really make it so that you stop sinning, because if I told you to, for example, not think of a pink elephant, you're going to think of a pink elephant. So in the same way, if we think about our sins, we're just gonna continue committing sinful behavior. So it's really about just focusing on the light, focusing on the good. And this doesn't in any way mean that we shouldn't feel sorrow. I mean, it's still bad to sin. I don't mean that just because we accept that we sin and we move on from the sin, we let it go, that doesn't mean that sinning is okay, that that's what we want, that that's good. No. Sinning is bad. But we need to accept that we made a sin. I sin all of the time. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna beat myself up for it. It just doesn't help us in any single way. So we have to just let go, accept that it happened, move on, focus on the light again, turn on the lights, because then we can see clearly and we can do good again. Because someone might say that we need to be discontent, or we need to be dissatisfied, because if I'm already satisfied with where I am right now, I say that it's okay that I sin, it's okay. Then I say, but how, if you just say that it is okay all of the time, how are you going to want to improve? How are you going to want to be better? But this is not the case. You don't need to be dissatisfied with you are to want to improve, because this is just misunderstanding. They think that acceptance is the same as saying that this is good, which is not. Acceptance is not saying that, yeah, this is good, this is what we want. It's just saying that this is the reality, this is the truth, this is what happened. Because then it's only from truth, it's only from accepting what is, that we can make true progress. We're not gonna make true progress from a state of just lack, from fear that we're gonna continue failing, that we need to, be upset with where we are, that we need to be dissatisfied. That's only just gonna lead us to do more bad things, because it says that I'm not good enough where I am right now. I can only be good in the future when I've done this better thing. But this is not what we want. We want to be with God right here, right now, because the future really doesn't exist. We know it. It's only when we are in the future. I mean, we cannot be in the future, because when we are there, we're going to be in the present moment. So we have to be content with what we have. We need to realize the reality of what we have, because that's the only place where God can be found. We're not gonna get closer to God by being discontent with what we have. No, we get closer to God by saying that we are okay, that God is with us, that we can, it's okay to focus on the light. I mean, it's like parents teaching a baby how to walk. When the baby is crawling and it stands up and it falls, they don't say that it's bad that it fell, or they don't punish the child. They say it's okay. They encourage the child to just continue going. Oh, I don't. And they just keep going because you're telling the child that it's okay. It's okay to be in this. It's okay that you fell. Focus on the good again. Continue walking. It's the same thing. It helps it, because if you just punish the child, it's just gonna be afraid of falling and it's not gonna try again. So we need to become more conscious. We need to be in the present moment, and because it's only when our consciousness is strong enough to light up the dark so that we can focus on God, that we can stop reinforcing this sin. The problem is that most people will not be able to become conscious enough to keep their attention on God all of the time. Eventually, they will fall, they will get distracted, and their ego, their mind will take over. And the thing is, this is not a huge problem in itself. I mean, it's a problem because you're not connected with God. You're letting this ego control your life. But it can become even worse because this identity that I talked about, that's based upon the past things you've done. Well, you like to repeat the same things that you've done in your past. Usually early experiences shape our future because we like comfort, we like to repeat the same patterns. Now let's say that your identity is based on sinful behavior. You know what that means? It means that we have a big problem, because that means it's whenever we're letting our mind take over, the sinful behavior will repeat because we think that the sin is us, which is not, because you're not this identity. But if your identity is based upon just doing bad things all of the time, then your ego is going to do everything it can to continue this identity, to stay alive, and you're going to continue sinning without understanding why. But what is it that attaches like sin to our identity? What is it that makes you believe that I'm a sinful person? I just sin all of the time. I can't do anything about it. That's just who I am. Well, it's when you feed the sin with emotional energy when you commit it, because that attaches you with it. So you beat yourself up for it. You become really angry at yourself or whatever. You say that it's not okay. That paradoxically attaches you with it. Because, when you try to not think of an elephant, you're going to think of the pink elephant. So it just doesn't work to think about it, because then it will attach to you. And you will repeat the same pattern over and over again. So how can we get rid of this pattern? How can we stop attaching sinful behavior to our identity, so that even if our mind will lead our lives, at least it's not gonna lead us to commit sinful behavior. At least it's not gonna be as bad. Well, we do it through forgiveness. And this is why forgiveness is so commonly thought and encouraged in Christianity. We need to forgive. That's the only way to stop reinforcing this sin so much with emotional energy that it attaches to us and it stays with us. We forgive it, we let it go. And how do we do this? It's the same way Well, the bad thing, okay, let's give you this analogy. You're stressed because of whatever reason, you become stressed. What would be really stupid here would be to be more stressed because you're stressed. So you become stressed because of that. And it's just this infinite loop. And it continues to feed upon itself. And it attaches to you. So you just become super stressed. It's the same thing with this sinful behavior. If you commit a sin and you get pissed off yourself because you do it, you get really mad, it attaches and you will continue doing it over and over again, which is not what we want. So what we do is the same thing that we do when we're stressed. We say that it's fine that we're stressed. Okay, we notice the truth. Okay, I am stressed. It's fine, because then, yeah, it doesn't get rid of the stress. You still stress, you still sin, whatever. But at least you're not gonna get more stressed. At least you're not gonna sin even more. Because then it just makes it even worse. I mean, sinning and being stressed, that's bad. But to like get mad and beat yourself up because of that is even more worse, because there's no point in doing it. It will only make us sin more. Yeah. So, to summarize, the way we can focus on God and stop sinning so much, I mean, the cause of why we sin, is because we look away from God. So, the way we focus on God is simply by keeping our attention in the right place. And we do that by setting the right intention in the back of our mind to, when we go throughout our day, to just try to be with God. There's not really much more we do. That's the choice we make, because remember that when we sin, don't beat yourself up for it, because you did not make the choice to do that bad thing. It happened because you were unconscious. It happened because the lights were turned off. Simply turn on the lights again, and then the sinful behavior that you did will simply disappear. And one of my favorite quotes from the Bible is when Jesus said to forgive them, for they do not know what they do, when he was being crucified. Because it's so true. I mean, those people who crucified him, they did not know what they did, because for them the lights were turned off. They did not see that he was the Son of God. If they would have truly seen that, they would not have done it. That's why he asks his Father for forgiveness, to forgive these people, because they are unconscious. So this means that even when you fall unconscious, if we just look back on God, he's waiting there for us, watching us, waiting for us to look back on him. You don't have to be ashamed when you sin. You don't have to, start, looking away from God, saying that you're not worthy. Even though that might be the case, just look at him. Because then he will forgive you and he will rejoice. So that's what we do. We continue looking on God and we stop being caught up in our sins, because that's only going to reinforce it. It's only gonna make it worse, even though it's not our intent. We think that if I try to think about, I shouldn't do it this way, it will reinforce it, and it's just the way it works. So we just have to let go, we have to forgive it, and we focus on the light, we turn on the light, and we focus on the good. So these are just my thoughts about how we can practically sin less. And in the Bible they have said how it is, and the Bible is true. This is just how I experience it and how I try to put words into it with my own words. And it might explain to someone like what is this that truly happens when they sin, because they don't understand like why am I doing this sin. So it might be helpful. So I really hope that it can be helpful, but I don't claim to know the truth. I don't know if this truly is the case. I just find this helpful for me because I can just remind myself that I can set this good intention to focus my attention on God. And it just really helps me to be more virtuous and to be more like Christ instead of, continue committing this sinful behavior. So I hope this can be helpful for you. And please like and share, comment your thoughts, what you think about this, because that's how we can, understand each other, get closer to the truth. So yeah, thanks for watching.